What's up, guys? Welcome to Fire Emblem discussion. Today we're going to be doing something a little different than I probably have ever done before on this channel. I want to go through the Fire Emblem games and kind of rank them by their power level, or how powerful the playable characters are in universe for those games. And the reason I want to do this is because I want to bring back the Arena, which is a video series I used to do. You know, it's been months and months and months since I've done an Arena video, but it's where we pit Fire Emblem characters from different games against each other to kind of theory craft and also look at their stats and everything to see who would win. And I've been thinking about bringing that back, so I wanted to do this with you guys. I wanted to get your opinion on which games have the most powerful characters story-wise. So this is all based on lore and what happens in-game. And I have a few different tiers here. We have small scale, Dragon Slayer, God Slayers, and just gods. And this is referring to either the conflict or the main villain or who the characters are, essentially. And so let's just get right into it. And as far as sequels go, it depends on the game, but like sequels and prequels or whatever, I'm just going to rate them as the same because it's the same universe. But there are a couple of exceptions to that rule. So for our first universe, we're gonna go with Eleb, specifically Fire Emblem: The Blazing Blade. It's a really small scale conflict. It's not like they're fighting really extremely powerful enemies. The strongest thing they fight is a dragon, which is true for other games as well. But this dragon doesn't really have anything special about it. It is literally just a dragon that's summoned through the Dragon Gate, rather than being some ultra evil super dragon that we see in like the Binding Blade, which I am going to raise separately from here. It's a very small scale conflict. They do kill a dragon. They do kill some strong enemies in Nurgle and his morphs, but it just doesn't feel like they accomplish enough to be considered any higher on the list for me. So let's move on. Next we have Thracia 776. Another relatively small-scale conflict. It happens just within one country, that being Thracia, and it's all about Leaf trying to take back his homeland, and also trying to, stop the Loptirian Loptus. It's all about Leaf trying to stop the Lopt sect from essentially harvesting and killing children, which is really messed up stuff if you think about it. But again, it's the same sort of thing where I don't feel like they do anything super great. The only reason I put them above the Blazing Blade is because they are in the same universe as Genealogy: The Holy War, which will be higher on the list, as you could probably guess. But for here, this is what we're going to have. Next, going into the Dragon Slayers, is going to be the Binding Blade. Now, I know it's Eleb again, they're in the same universe, but it's such a disparity here. They get access to extremely powerful weapons, being all the divine weapons or whatever. They get all of them, and they don't fight just one dragon. They fight dragons throughout the entire game, and then they fight like this dragon that creates dragons. So, as far as power levels go, I just feel like that warrants more than what we get from Blazing Blade. And again, I know it's the same universe, so I guess you could just put them together. But it just felt like we should split it there. Next, into Dragon Slayers, we have Shadows of Valentia, or just the Valentian continent. Greatest feat of strength is fighting Duma, who is a dragon. It's kind of potentially a god, like a dragon or a god. It's hard to say where they fall. Where Duma falls, but I think Dragon Slayers is the safe place to go, and I think it's honestly a very similar situation to what we have with Marth and Company. They don't necessarily Marth and Company, the Arcanea saga. They fight tons of dragons as well, similar to Binding Blade, but they also fight Medius, who I don't know how he would compare to Duma. But I would assume it's fairly similar in power level, at least. I don't know. This is all theoretical and all just going off of lore and stuff, so we're just messing around. But this is just kind of my thoughts on that one. Next, in the Dragon Slayer tier, we're going to throw Sacred Stones, or Magvel. Now, I'm not really sure what Formitis, or however you say his name, is, how he is interpreted or considered. Is he a god, a dragon, just a big monster? I don't really know. But as far as the game goes, it feels very similar to Arcanea and Echoes. And Valentia being, you know, big evil guy at the end and a bunch of monsters and stuff, specifically referring to Valentia. So I think it's very similar. The order of these four, I don't really have a concrete order. I would love to hear your opinion on this, where you would place the Dragon Slayer in the Dragon Slayers tier. Like, how would you move them around? But as far as, for me, this works for me here. But again, we're going to change this for your thoughts. Now, we move into God Slayers, which is going to be first Fire Emblem Awakening. Now, Fire Emblem Awakening, they slay Grima, right? Which is a pretty big deal. You know, he's freaking huge. It's one thing. And also, I don't know if he's considered a god. I don't know. It's kind of ambiguous on that one. Dragons and gods can be pretty similar, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know. But I am curious what you guys have to say on this one. I personally think that they do belong in the God Slayers tier. There might be some personal bias looking at the characters and how strong they become throughout the game, just because everyone in Awakening is insanely powerful. But again, stats and numbers are all relative when we're talking here. The stats and numbers don't necessarily give us the full picture, because if that was the case, then Awakening would be top of the list. But we need to consider the lore and everything, and how what the characters were able to accomplish. And I feel like that puts them in God Slayers, and I think right in front of them we have the Tellius series. So these two, I'm rating Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn the same one as just Tellius, because they, honestly, it's all the exact same characters throughout both games, right? So it's hard for me to argue splitting them up and putting like Radiant Dawn just above Path of Radiance. And honestly, I'd consider putting Path of Radiance in small scale, but Radiant Dawn, they literally fight the goddess who created the earth or created Tellius, and that's pretty freaking insane. And then, you know, they win. So it's hard for me to. So yeah, I think that's a pretty fair place for them. Next, which might be controversial to people, I'm not really sure, just because it is Fates, therefore it's controversial. Fire Emblem Fates is going to go on God Slayers. Specifically thinking of Revelation, because Anankos is a deity-like figure. So I think this makes sense that they go right here. Just my thoughts here. Next on the list, we're going to have Fire Emblem Three Houses. Now, I debated putting this one at the top, and honestly, it kind of ties with our top spot for me. It's hard to say. The lore is very similar, both having, and if you couldn't guess, the other top spot is Genealogy of the Holy War. I had a hard time deciding which one would go on top. Both feature characters that are the descendants of dragon gods and like these deity-like figures. But I have a hard time putting Three Houses above the Yggdrasil characters and the Yggdrasil lore. Like, just the story in Genealogy is crazy. It's literally demigods fighting demigods in this crazy war to save the world from an evil god, and all of his evil intentions of sacrificing children and conquering the world and everything. It's crazy stuff, and I can't help but believe that Genealogy of the Holy War is the top of the top. Yggdrasil has the strongest warriors in all of Fire Emblem, but I am up to changing it, of course. And that's going to be the whole point of this list. I want to get your guys' ideas and your thoughts, and we're going to change this list to better to get a better idea of where we all sit as a community. And we might change this in the future from time to time. And it's going to go into another video series that I'm going to start up again, the Arena, where this is going to factor in, like, which game they're in, and like the power level of said game is going to factor into their chances of winning in the arena, the character. So I am really interested in what you guys have to say. So please tell me how to change this list. We'll do it similarly to how we did the other tier list for 3 houses, and we'll probably get back to doing that. I need to. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.